Before we dive into today's unforgettable story, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another epic basketball story. If you love intense locker room drama, unforgettable rivalries, emotional comebacks, and championship moments that keep you on the edge of your seat, you're in the right place. And before we begin, let us know in the comments, what makes a championship team: superstars, chemistry, or heart? Your answer might be different by the time this story ends. The city of Ashport had waited nearly 3 decades for this moment. Every billboard downtown carried the same message. Every sports station talked about only one team. Every coffee shop conversation eventually circled back to basketball. The Ashport Storm had become more than a professional franchise. They had become the heartbeat of an entire city desperate to witness greatness. After years of rebuilding, heartbreaking playoff exits, coaching changes, and failed superstar signings, hope had finally arrived in the form of a young point guard named Ava Carter. At just 23 years old, Ava possessed dazzling court vision, limitless confidence, and a fearless style of play that thrilled fans every single night. She made impossible passes look routine and transformed fast breaks into works of art. Yet there was one statistic critics couldn't ignore. She also led the league in turnovers. Every sports debate seemed to begin and end with the same question. Was Ava Carter a brilliant playmaker who simply took necessary risks, or was she holding her own team back by trying to do too much? Television analysts argued for hours. Retired players disagreed with one another. Social media exploded after every game, with one highlight clip portraying Ava as a genius and the next showing her throwing the ball into the third row. Somewhere between the dazzling assists and the frustrating mistakes existed the truth, but nobody seemed interested in finding it. Controversy attracted viewers, and viewers generated headlines. Standing quietly at the center of the storm was head coach Elena Brooks. Unlike many coaches who loved microphones and dramatic press conferences, Elena believed basketball conversations should happen inside practice gyms rather than television studios. She had spent 20 years building a reputation as one of the smartest defensive minds in the game. Calm under pressure and impossible to rattle, she never criticized players publicly and refused to allow outside narratives into her locker room. Her philosophy was simple. Teams didn't win championships because everyone agreed with each other. They won because they trusted one another when nobody else did. Training camp felt different that year. Veteran shooting guard Mia Reynolds had quietly become one of the league's most respected leaders. Center Naomi Brooks dominated the paint with intimidating defense, while rookie forward Jasmine Ellis brought relentless energy every time she stepped on the floor. Practices were competitive but joyful. Veterans challenged rookies. Rookies pushed veterans. Every drill ended with laughter, and every mistake became a teaching moment rather than an excuse for blame. Coach Brooks watched carefully, believing championships were built during ordinary Tuesdays long before they were celebrated under confetti. The regular season opened with enormous expectations. The Storm raced out to an impressive record, thrilling sold-out crowds night after night. Ava dazzled audiences with behind-the-back passes that somehow threaded impossible angles, Mia buried clutch three-pointers with ice in her veins, and Naomi turned the paint into forbidden territory. For a while, everything looked perfect. Then came the first national television game against the Harbor City Waves, the defending champions. The arena buzzed hours before tip-off. Celebrities lined the front row. Reporters packed the media room. Fans waved homemade signs declaring that this was the beginning of a new dynasty. The game lived up to every expectation. Both teams traded baskets through 4 breathtaking quarters. Every possession carried playoff intensity. Every timeout felt like a chess match. With less than a minute remaining and the Storm trailing by 1, Ava drove into the lane, drawing 3 defenders before attempting a spectacular cross-court pass to an open teammate. The ball sailed just beyond her fingertips and into the hands of the opposing defender, who raced the other direction for the game-sealing layup. Silence fell over the arena. One turnover, one decision, one heartbreaking loss. Inside the locker room, nobody blamed Ava. Coach Brooks calmly reminded the team that one possession never decided an entire game. Veterans gathered around their young point guard, encouraging her to keep attacking and keep believing. Mistakes were inevitable, they reminded her, but fear was unacceptable. Championships belonged to players brave enough to attempt difficult plays when everyone else hesitated. Outside the arena, however, an entirely different conversation had already begun. Television networks replayed the turnover hundreds of times before midnight. Sports radio callers questioned Ava's decision-making. Online commentators dissected every frame of the play, insisting they had known all along that her style of basketball would never succeed in the postseason. By sunrise the next morning, newspapers featured dramatic headlines asking whether Ashport's biggest strength had become its greatest weakness. Coach Brooks ignored every headline. The players tried to do the same, but even the strongest locker room couldn't completely silence the outside noise. As the weeks passed, the pressure intensified. Every Storm victory was celebrated cautiously, while every defeat became front-page news. Analysts stopped discussing the team as a whole and instead focused almost entirely on Ava's turnovers. If she recorded 12 assists, critics highlighted her 5 giveaways. If she scored 30 points, someone inevitably questioned whether another point guard would have made fewer mistakes. The conversation had become less about basketball and more about proving preconceived opinions. Then, everything changed during a routine practice. Late in a scrimmage, Ava landed awkwardly after contesting a rebound. She immediately grabbed her ankle and stayed on the hardwood, surrounded by concerned teammates. The gym, usually filled with constant chatter and bouncing basketballs, became eerily quiet. Coach Brooks knelt beside her star player while the medical staff rushed across the floor. After several tense minutes, Ava slowly stood with assistance, unable to put full weight on her leg. The diagnosis brought mixed emotions. No surgery. No season-ending injury. But enough damage to keep her sidelined for several weeks. News spread across the league within minutes. Fans flooded social media with messages of support. Others began asking uncomfortable questions. Could the Storm survive without their franchise player? Nobody inside the organization cared about that discussion. Their first concern was Ava's recovery. Yet basketball seasons rarely pause for injuries. The schedule marched forward, and the Storm prepared for the biggest stretch of games they had faced all season. Mia Reynolds accepted greater responsibility handling the offense. Naomi vowed to dominate the paint. Jasmine promised to bring twice the energy off the bench. Every player understood the challenge ahead. The first game without Ava shocked everyone. Instead of struggling, the Storm played with remarkable balance. The ball moved freely from player to player. Every starter reached double figures in scoring. The defense forced 21 turnovers, and the team cruised to a convincing victory over a playoff contender. Coach Brooks praised everyone's effort afterward, emphasizing teamwork and discipline. Inside the locker room, players celebrated the win before immediately sending a video message to Ava, reminding her that they couldn't wait to have her back. Unfortunately, the internet interpreted the game very differently. By morning, sports debate shows featured bold graphics asking whether the Storm had accidentally discovered a better formula without their superstar. Commentators pointed to fewer turnovers, smoother offensive possessions, and improved defensive communication. None of them suggested Ava wasn't talented. Instead, they argued that perhaps the team functioned more efficiently without relying so heavily on one player. The headlines spread like wildfire. Fans argued endlessly online. Former players joined television panels. Even casual sports followers suddenly had strong opinions. Inside the Storm's practice facility, televisions remained off. Coach Brooks gathered her players at center court. "We can't control what people say," she told them calmly. "We can only control what we become." Every player nodded. They believed her. But none of them realized the greatest challenge of their season wouldn't be an opponent waiting across the court. It would be the growing divide between public perception and the truth unfolding inside their own locker room. And that's where our story comes to an end. What started as a season filled with doubt, pressure, and impossible expectations became a journey about trust, resilience, and the power of believing in one another when the entire world is telling a different story. Championships aren't won by one player, one coach, or one unforgettable moment. They're built through sacrifice, accountability, teamwork, and the determination to keep moving forward when adversity seems impossible to overcome. If you enjoyed this fictional basketball drama, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next epic sports story. We have many more dramatic basketball adventures, underdog journeys, locker room battles, and championship tales coming your way. Now we want to hear from you. What was your favorite moment in the story? Which character did you connect with the most? And if you were Coach Elena Brooks, what decision would you have made in the biggest moment of the season? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We read as many of them as we can, and your ideas might even inspire a future story. Thank you so much for watching and spending your time with us. Your support means everything and helps us continue creating these cinematic basketball stories for fans around the world. Until next time, keep believing, keep chasing greatness, and remember, every championship begins with a team that refuses to quit. We'll see you in the next story.